Hi.
How are you?
Oh, great. I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, good, good. Yeah, everything's taken off as
Oh,
always.
yeah, I just wanted to, have a conversation about the course and get some input from you. I know you've been right there along with us all along, and really appreciated your input. And so I just thought I'd ask a few questions and then also see what kinds of way we can continue to work together. Like with Malula, she is talking about the course all the time, and then people want to know, well, how do I do the course and stuff? What would you say are the top three things that would stand out as the most important for you?
I think probably the three top things would have been the weekly calls. They were really good to be able to touch base, because there's one thing doing a course. I find sometimes with those online courses that you do, outside of obviously Moringa, I've done a few of them, and they'll give you a link to a Facebook group. And they'll say you can, outside of the course, you do all your videos, you do your course, but then outside of that, you just come over to the Facebook page. And that's good for some things, but it's not as good, as getting that one-on-one time. Well, that was the other thing, is the one-on-one time as well with you was really, really good. But to be able to do those weekly calls where you're actually in person, you can write down your list of questions. You also get to interact with the other students as well. So I think that was really, really good, having those weekly times. And then the one-on-ones as well. So you kind of went even further down and you were able to access the course creator, like face to face. I think that was pretty amazing. You don't tend to get that very often. And if you do, it's going to be some high-end coaching kind of thing, which you have to pay, a lot more money for. So I think as an all-inclusive course where you got all of those, so you got the course materials, you got the weekly calls, and you got the one-on-ones. I think that was just amazing to have all of those. Especially for the price point, and especially sort of like the fact that it wasn't too long and it wasn't too short either. So you had four weeks, 4 calls. Definitely having that more face-to-face interaction, that was definitely a bonus. I think also the breadth of the course content as well was really amazing. You got to cover some of the permaculture principles, you got to cover the soil biology, which I wasn't expecting any of those things actually in the course. So I definitely, that would be my second thing. And then I think the third thing would be, I think the pace was pretty good. I think I liked it. It was a bit challenging at times just to kind of keep up with what each of the weeks were, because, permaculture and soil biology is pretty intense, but you managed to kind of do a good summary and enough for us to understand how that fits in with growing Moringa. So I felt that was good for me. I can't speak for everybody else, but definitely, yeah. So I think they would be the three things: the access to you and face to face with the group as well. The length of time was really good. I like that 4 weeks. It wasn't too much, it wasn't too little. And the course content, definitely the breadth of it was really good. It wasn't just about, how we're going to spread the word. It's like, well, you got to know what you're spreading the word about. And there was enough of that in there, I think, to be able to get excited, but excite other people as well. So I think that's the crux of the matter, really. You have to get a bit excited yourself before you can excite other people about it. So
what I really wanted to have happen is that people experience the transmission. That's really the word that we've come to identify as one of the things that happens in the in-person class, because we're like, with my daughter Lindsay, how are we going to orchestrate that? Because a magical thing happens. The connection you have with the other students, the connection all around you, like with Moringa and all of us within our family, this thing that happens, right? If there's something that happens, and it happens in this course, and we didn't know how it was going to. We just couldn't even imagine, because all we've been able to imagine is in person. But it happened. We did accomplish that. So it was really an amazing thing. And there was a moment when I was trying to figure out how to orchestrate that. What could we do? I mean, one thing we added was the Moringa music, the introspection, that people had that option, but that wasn't going to be the way. That was just something that people could use if they wanted to. And at one point, when I was really like, oh, how are we going to searching, I just got the message. There's nothing we have to do. The transmission has never come from us. The transmission has always come from Moringa.
Yeah.
And it will continue to do that. Whatever we do, but the transmission is going to happen. And so I just let it go completely. And we just did the things that we felt connected to, and just open that up for people to experience that. So that was a really fascinating part of the process for us.
Yeah, I should say that was definitely part of it for me. I know I mentioned the 3 things earlier, but I would say that's definitely one of them. But I think learning about Moringa actually helps you have that connection, because the more you know about it, the more you realize how much it has to give and how much it has to offer. So it's only when you kind of understand it enough that it's just amazing. I mean, they don't call it the miracle tree for no reason, that you realize just how much it actually has to offer humanity. But it's only when you get to that point where you kind of go, okay, this tree's pretty bloody amazing. And I'm finding that also with mushrooms, like this amazing, and funny that there's this amazing symbiotic relationship between mushrooms and Moringa as well. So that's even more powerful for me, because I was just like, oh my God, how could I have picked 2 things that are so perfectly suited? But it's that same feeling of, it's this medicinal quality, which is so powerful that you can tap into it. And between Moringa and mushrooms, it's amazing how much those 2 actually are able to help heal and nourish and everything else. So that to me was what was mind-blowing, and I really enjoyed that understanding of just how powerful it actually it is, and how much it's going to be connected to me moving forward. So that was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And so it transmitted.
Yes, so there's going to be times possibly along the way that either you'll be oh, what about now, right?
Yeah.
Just so you know, because we will be there to hold you, and make sure that anything that we can do, we are doing, and so you can rely on that. So
you've brought up your children fantastically, so then they all are very comfortable being themselves, and there is no trying to be anybody else other than who they are. So they're able to be individuals, and they've figured it out. Like you said, Lindsay and Mackenzie, they know how they work well together. It's kind of naturally happening now, especially doing all the Moringa courses, and moving forward they'll even blend in even more. So there's none of that, because the dynamics is important. You're very blessed. You're very blessed to have great kids who
I truly
know who they are.
And Jensen, it was interesting because he's a very type A, so typical. Firstborn male type A person. I was like, wow, how did that happen? But he just came out that way. I just it was fascinating to me. He's a very early speaker. As a baby, at 8 months old, he was speaking. I have a video, and my kids never believed me. They're like, oh yeah, Mom. Well, I found the cassette, the tape cassette.
Old school.
He was 9 months old, and I was recording him saying words. Now, he wasn't talking, but he was saying words, and they could recognize those words. And we were pointing to something, and he was saying the words, and they were like, oh, he really was talking, because Jensen has had 2 boys. Lindsay has had her baby. It's like, they could be like saying full sentences at a year old. They couldn't imagine it. But now, after hearing that,
seeing
so
that,
it was interesting. And he's a very strong personality, and so he was very sensitive to both of the girls, and he actually made Mackenzie in charge of the meetings, and she ran all the meetings, and he would say, okay, well, what's that, so he delegated, he empowered, he dropped that whole, like, I have to be in control, I'm going to run everything, right? Because they were kind of like, how's that going to be? They wanted him to be a part of this. And when he started to come in, and he came in just this soft way, sensitive to them.
Yes, yeah.
And then when he was saying things like, yeah, I think in the introduction where my kids are talking, he says, I'm the man behind these three goddesses. So then I was like,
Cute.
I said, goddess?
Did he say that?
Because that would have been his vocabulary. It's like, oh. And so he's just amazed us time and time again with his sensitivity and his intuition and his connection, and the way he supports is just like so gentle and so, yeah, it's so precise, and and it's nothing contrived. He's not acting some way or trying to dampen himself at all. He's just like flowing with us. And I
So
think
that's
that
great.
because it was family, and he was really like, he is very, very connected and loyal, and so his interest was always to make sure that whatever he was doing was compatible with everyone and wasn't overriding anyone. And so he's really remade himself in that way, just his own intention. And so yeah, we just are observing the different ways that we've moved through things. And my husband and I just spent a week there in Denver with them, and we planted little, container gardens, and with moringa in there, and some different things. And still, my grandsons are watering every day, and every Sunday we do a check-in, and they walk me through and show me what's happening. It's like, it's really precious. So each of the students, as we have things to show over time, we want to do these stories about
absolutely
their projects, and the status of people's projects right now. Those are the things also I want to have be available in some way, maybe on the YouTube channel, where we're telling the stories of our students and the projects that they're doing, and the update even from your group. So Nihal, who did that flyer, I want to send that flyer out to everyone, because there's a really nice
that was for the family planning, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, that was their 6 clinics, and now they are going to produce 500,000 of those pieces to distribute.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
holy guacamole.
Yeah, that's the thing though, like that's what happens when you, and I talked to Malula, because her project is exploding. Now the organization where it has the land, and they've met, and they've done all these different meetings, and they're going to go there. They have a place they're going to do the drying and everything there, because now she knows why. Because I did that on our first one-on-one, but she was like, oh yeah, really? And now she
gets it. It's all clicked. Yeah.
Yeah. So hers, so that's what I also want to keep people connected to the students in your own course, so that you can see, oh, this is where they, just in this short period of time, Nihal just like, oh, this, what?
Yeah.
100,000, that's amazing. So I do want to send his final one, because it's a very beautiful flyer that he put together. It's all in English. And he solved one of the problems that I'd had with that one picture that shows moringa equals this 7 times of vitamin C. And it said that without an explanation, that looks like one little branch is equal to all that. And so I said, in the course, we have the picture of 100 grams of fresh. So he just switched that side out, and now it has that.
The 100 grams. Excellent.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So it's in that flyer, and he wrote that out, 100 grams of edible portion, so it's clear. So yeah, that's something that I think would be easy. Everybody could have that, and so they're talking to somebody they want to know about moringa, you would just send that.
Send that on, yeah. Well, funnily enough, I was at an event on Sunday night, and I was talking to a woman who was a nutritionalist in amongst the dancing and the food and all of that. Somehow we got talking about moringa, because I said, oh, have you ever heard of, she's Brazilian, and I said, have you heard of moringa? And she said, oh yes, I've heard of moringa, because obviously parts of Brazil, it's obviously tropics, I believe, right? That up the top there, yeah. And she did say yes, that she does know moringa, but she actually didn't know much about it. And I just said, well, I'll send you some information about it. You've got to kind of start eating it and start talking to your clients about it, basically. Well, it's one person, but that one person is going to influence so many. And I think it's a really interesting idea to touch base with nutritionalists and talk about Moringa, because they're actually sharing this with their patients. So,
we did this with people at the in-person course as well. And people connected who were in different courses, but they had a common interest, and so I could connect them. So all of that is how we create that web, that network of all of the Moringa workers all over the world. One of them is interesting. It's a price fixing that they want.
Okay.
One of the challenges I've had with a lot of what goes on in other countries is that they pay slave labor for the farmer who gets the least, and it goes,
and then they whack it up
far away, and somebody else is making, so many people are making profit on that farmer's work. The farmer and the people who are producing that they actually get the benefit of it, because a lot of places they're dying of starvation, they're living on slave labor, and that product is going to
somewhere else,
somewhere, right?
Because
it has to be people can live well and abundant.
That's it,
for the labor that they're doing, and providing something where people are just receiving, like we're just receiving, and that's the case with a lot of the food that comes into this country, is that. And because there is an incentive to keep those developing countries developing and never developed, because that way you no longer have that slave labor.
Exactly.
So you really have to look at that. And so I always encourage people who are growing Moringa that they keep it in their own country for their own people first, and you build up your own people first. You get the health and wealth of your own people up to par and a level of abundance. And then, so because if it all goes to that first nation first, and there's nothing left. And I want to have a Moringa certification board that people are following the Moringa protocol of the like soil biology, composting, harvest, and the way that it's processed. So if we know that that's the protocol, and people will have a different grade, they'll some people won't be able to sell their product for as high as another place, because we're testing to see what is really the level of product that it is. But I felt that is why I'm doing the one-on-ones, is to find a small thing that people can do, an action they can take, that then from that they start to see what they can do, what they reasonably can do and accomplish on their own, 100% control. They're not waiting for somebody else. They're not waiting, and hoping that something is going to turn out before they can take a step. I want to see that step to happen, and then help make that step happen. And then as they do whatever the project is, that is what gives the confidence of being able to then take the next step. It also is training an internal guide. Once you start to understand, when you find that thing that you want to do and you start to work on it, and then you see, like Nihal, do you remember he was going to do this commercial, big, huge thing? And he's one-on-one. I brought him down to, I said, just have
something manageable.
Research. So he researched right away. He researched, and from that research, he realized, no, that's not. I'm going to do this, and then he took a step, and now look. The result is 500,000 copies of this little, piece he made. So from that confidence, now he can take that and do what next, right?
But
what that did is it created in him a kind of knowing in himself about it, and his own true connection to it, with not his idea and what he thinks he should, or no, it became very personal, and it really should be. And so that's a part of the one-on-one, is to find that place that somebody can start to use that as a guide, and that brings the confidence. And that, even what Malula said, she became brave That's what she said.
Yes.
Brave, I can just stand up. When I have to stand up and talk in front of even children, I don't know, what am I going to say? And now, from that level of confidence, she said, I just feel brave. I can talk about it. I saw a moringa tree in the city, and I went in and I said, oh my God, there's moringa right here and seed pods. And she's telling the person what they can do to improve their, their moringas.
Yeah.
Because she knew that she had the information, right?
Because I think some people will come to moringa and they'll want to know how to grow it, and they've heard it's a superfood, but they might not want to take that next step because they don't know it. They don't understand what it means to be an ambassador. It's like what I was saying to you. It's like you think that this is going to be like, well, what's this ambassador thing like? Am I going to be like a diplomat out there in the world? And then you realize that it's actually about the connection. But you don't get that when you first sort of like look at this as a course.
I came up with this, just why I started with the ambassador is because that basis of information, I think is really important for people to really get that in a strong way. And from there, as a grower, to then take that, it would be taken. So in the grower, you're going to actually lay out your zones. You're going to understand, you're going to see mark out the parameter of your parcel and know the grade and know, prevailing wind and the run of the sun and in a business plan. And you're going to see that this is something that you will have as an occupation. And so the groundwork of it to me seemed to be a really critical piece, because once they have that information, they're doing each of the subjects that we covered. They're demonstrating it. They're actually doing that.
Then they're like, oh my God, this is just an amazing tree. I just want to tell everybody about it, because they start to get the connection. But they're coming in thinking they're learning how to grow it, but they're actually learning how to connect with it.
Nikoletta, thank you so much. This is just
my pleasure.
Amazing and wonderful to have you be a part of what we're doing.
It's been lovely, but if you need anything else, just let me know. And yeah, we'll just move through life
together.
Great.
Thank
Excellent.
you so much. All right.